30,000 people take Casey's public transit daily.
I am literally relying on these bus lines right now.
Michael Harvey came from Raytown to work the Chapel Roan concert.
These buses can drop off dozens of people at a time, and it gets you there right. It'll pull up right to it.
KCMO is funding 92% of the bus operating costs, but leaders hope the 4 biggest counties in the metro pitch in.
Come to the table and find the solutions for their communities.
That's why leaders from across the metro met on Friday morning to bring up sustainable solutions.
They're very positive, so we don't anticipate any of the angst that we had before.
KCATA's board chair expects a common fare for bus rides across the metro with a cashless system. Poll research showed the majority of voters in the metro would support paying a sales tax for transit.
We are hoping that we can get to the ballot in the next year in at least one of the counties and kind of start a domino process where we're expanding that pool.
That could bring in up to $200 million a year.
Because of the limited tools available to create funding, it is really the only option we do have.
Riders don't love having to pay a fare or sales tax, but 12 million people a year need the ride.
I don't feel that we should have to pay for it for the ones that's struggling, but if that's what has to be done, that's what has to be done.
So here we are once again talking about funding for KCATA as Kansas City transit leaders are looking at solutions before the end of this year as the bus funding is going to expire. And so one of the options with this is KCATA looking at bringing back fares. I don't like because you get people in a habit of not paying fares and we get used to having a free bus system. To me, it really takes away from the city and our some of our appeal is having a good bus system that is free for everybody to use for connectivity, for financial reasons, of course, for people who need that bus system to get to where they're going to because they can't afford cars, because they don't want to pay for gas, because they don't want to pollute the air or anything like that. So they're talking about implementing a regional sales tax outside of KCMO. I'm not sure all the ins and outs, but on the outside, on the surface, that seems like a pretty good idea. You get money from, Platte County, Clay County, or all the other counties around Kansas City, and maybe that extends the buses to where they are. So now the connectivity is even larger for all Kansas Citians. So if that's the case, and if that's on the table, another great idea. Now, going back to the bringing back fares, because, riders currently don't pay anything for the buses or the streetcar. So that could change by next year, though. So we got to pay for this somehow, y'all. But I feel like paying a half cent to 1 cent sales tax for transit is a small fee, especially when that sales tax could bring in up to $200 million a year. Y'all know me, I'm anything positive for the city, anything that helps our brothers and sisters try and get around and make life easier for our brothers and sisters that's in the hood, dog, quite frankly. I cannot imagine living in this city with no bus system, with no transit, dog. Like, why is this even a question? And don't get me wrong, I get it with the political climate of what's going on, and budgets are getting slashed, money's getting cut, all this craziness going around. But this is one of the most essential, in my opinion, this is one of the most essential parts of running a city and having a world-class functional city. So we don't have buses. So now what are we going to do? What do you do for the thousands of citizens who use that bus system every single day? For the Kansas Citians who have to use it to go get their groceries. For the Kansas Citians who may be caretakers of their loved ones. People are dependent on these things. What about people who are essential workers who got to get to work? What about people who have doctor's appointments or they have to get their peoples around to doctor's appointments? Why is this a question of funding for the buses? I don't understand it, man, especially when we've been celebrating the streetcar and the grand opening of the streetcar. I was involved in celebrating the streetcar too, because I think that's another great addition to Kansas City. But damn, dog, we gotta handle business first. We gotta handle business with the people who really matter here to Kansas City first. And that's the citizens of Kansas City, not these extra people coming in for World Cup, or not these extra people coming in to visit the city and want to take pictures and want to do content because Kansas City is popping now. Not them people. I'm talking about the people who make Kansas City what it is, the people who make the culture here, the people who make Kansas City what we are and how we are and why we are, the people who make this city functional, the people who operate on a daily basis, who pay their taxes here, who live here, who was raised here. I feel like sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes those people get put on the back burner, especially the past couple years when we trying to put a spit shine at Kansas City to make sure we look good for the world. And yes, that is important too. But what's more important than that is the people who live here. Period. And that's all I be coming from. That's all I'll be coming from. It is to help support and spread the voices of people who don't have one. So it's cool to celebrate the streetcar. And yes, we're going to continue to do that and continue to champion that. But damn it, let's not forget about real Kansas Citians who use the buses, which is more important than the streetcar because it gets around to more places. The streetcar right now is good for downtown, River Market, Plaza, UMKC. It's good for those places. Midtown, Westport, fine. But the rest of the city needs some attention. So the buses get out to Independence, the buses get out to Grandview, North KC, like people all around the inner city of KC. So it's essential for so many families, so many struggling families with the connectivity and appointments and all of that stuff. So I again cannot imagine this city trying to get around this city, this big ass city with everything spread out all over the place. Not saying Kansas City's we got 2 million people, whatever. So I know we're not. I'm talking about with the land and how everything is spread out. Imagine trying to get around, dog, with no bus system in Kansas City. It'll be impossible. So whatever we have to do to create funding for KCATA. Would you mind paying a sales tax for better transit in KC, for the buses here to stick around in KC? I know I wouldn't, especially if it's only half cent to 1 cent. So in order to have a world-class city, look, man, you got to invest in it and you got to pay for it.